we continue with our coverage and broadcast of everything surrounding the death of Raila Odinga that happened yesterday, the 15th of October. And we continue to have those conversations this hour. And even as we do, joining us this hour is the Senator for Kisii County. And I want to put the word after finally. Here with us in the studio. Let me say that right. Senator for the Republic of Kenya from the county of Kisii is one Richard Onyonka. Good morning.
Good morning. First, I sincerely want to apologize. I have been having it very difficult to come and for your show, and I know it creates all this inconvenience. I hope you will empathize and sympathize with my ineptitude.
How do you even refuse something like that? How do you even say no?
It's come out so humbly.
I'm telling you. How do you even say no? Well, it's good to see you. You're forgiven. It's good to see you.
And I've never been here with Okari, my brother. I'm so happy to see you. I'm proud of you. You know, you are history. Your fame supersedes you.
Oh my God! Wait. And you know, Nick is my senator.
I know. You guys are
from my home.
You're together in this space.
Very, very good.
So now that you people are loving yourselves,
yes.
Before we get into this conversation, Dennis is going to share a proverb with you.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So our proverb, I'm sure you're familiar with how this goes, from Liberia.
Yes.
So your interpretation will be on this proverb: teeth and tongue can fight, but they will never stop working together to eat. I repeat again: teeth and tongue can fight, but they will never stop working together to eat.
Thank you. Actually, that saying has got a sister parable saying in Kisii, which says that the same people is like meat which has entered onto your tooth gum. You eat the meat, it is sweet, but you have to get a toothpick to prick out the meat, and then you bloody your teeth. And therefore, when you're eating meat, you have to be careful whether you're going to chew the tongue or the meat.
Or the meat.
Yes.
Well, indeed. Wow. So, yesterday,
yes,
and I'm saying at around this time, we started to hear the chatter, and I'm starting every hour with that. We started to hear the chatter of the demise of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And it turned out later on that indeed it was the case. When you heard, what roller coaster were you going through to start off? And of course, you for a specific reason, because you were in the trenches with him, in some sort of detention at some point with him. I mean, we'll go through some of those details.
Yes.
But what kind of roller coaster did you go through, and have you been going through?
You see, yesterday I mentioned somewhere that, and this is as you keep on observing and looking and listening, and then of course as the message started coming in, you go through quite a number of things. In my mind, immediately what happened actually was Mzee Raila more unwell than we thought, because there were people who were constantly raising this issue to us in low tones, quietly. He said, Mzee it looks like he's under too much pressure. Looks like he's shuttling these state house meetings. He's having meetings with people. And some people are actually feeling that he would have lived longer. Normally when we die, that's how people see us, that they would have wished you lived longer. At the same time, I then started asking myself, what do I really think about Raila? I've been having my own tidbits on what it was, and I've had a lot of disagreements, discussions with friends and enemies, some of them who viciously have always criticized Raila because they interpreted some of his actions and whatever that he did not to have been quote-unquote nationalistic. In 2007, there are people who say he should never have relented. He should have allowed the country to continue on its bloodbath. And there was some. At that time, I didn't even have a political opinion. There were some people who were telling him, no, let's not push the country into the precipice. This thing really, at the end of it all, is about you. And elsewhere, I stated how it was most difficult, most engaging conversation that I would have never wished to have. And that conversation was that Raila was somebody that we need to take a little bit much more time to understand.
Right.
And that is because some of his decisions, even when they looked controversial, there is some detailed information that actually we were never given. So the decision that was made, like, for example, you have this constant issue that has been raised by the Gen Z and most probably raised by many of the people who didn't quite have much time and thinking on Raila, because they felt that this time around he should have let the government fall. And yet the truth is, by the time Raila was making that decision, we had had about 3 to 4 meetings, and that is the ODM caucus. And with our group within the caucus, there were people who were saying, let Ruto go home, and we have no business with him. And in the conversations, Raila was asking my colleagues and friends, he said, you gentlemen, do you really understand what it is to fix a completely broken country? Do we accept Kenya as a vehicle that has got 2 tires which are blown up and maybe there's a little bit overheating, and we keep on fixing these little tidbits as we figure out how to give the whole car an overhaul or a mini overhaul? Or do you actually want to dump the damn thing and just walk away? And these were discussions that were held, and they were bitter amongst the members of parliament and senators who were in that meeting representing, we were the ODM caucus. We did not agree very easily, but because some of us had the historical examples, it is very easy to destroy any country for a period of 1 day. And yet it may take you more than 100 years to fix it. We have various cases. Look at what is happening in South Sudan. Look at Somalia. Look at Cote d'Ivoire. They salvage themselves. And you see these examples. So there was that legitimate and genuine worry from some of us that you may not have to throw the baby and the water. That we may have to save the baby and let the water go. So in that thinking and in my evaluation, that is when I started looking at Raila. And in general terms, my honest and sincere belief is that the man served the country, and he did some of the things which are extremely difficult. You see, my brother, when I get up and I am running to the studio, I'm coming to the studio, I'm going to the Senate, and I have a public matter that I have, and I'm going to make a disclosure. It's not easy. Most people think we do this because of... No. When somebody is telling you that there's some people who have stolen 56 billion shillings, that's not 56 shillings. It's not 56 million. It's not 5.6. It's 56 billion Kenyan shillings from one transaction. So the interests and the circumstances and the interested parties get ruffled and they get annoyed with you. And this is what many Kenyans saw Raila do.
You're right. As a journalist,
yes.
I've practiced 20 years.
Yes.
And I recall in the newsroom, whenever we would sit down to plan for the docket story, so you're looking at a diary, this is what we're covering today. Among the things that will pique our interests from an editorial standpoint will be, okay, so Raila Odinga is calling for press briefing.
Yes.
And you hear Raila Odinga is calling for press briefing, you know he's going to whistleblow on something.
Exactly.
And he will come with receipts.
Yes.
What do you call receipts?
Absolutely,
he
yes. He comes with receipts, yes.
And he will talk about very, very deep things with details, with facts and numbers. And from that point on, it will form the basis of the direction of how we do stories for weeks or even months and sometimes years as follow-up stories. And so there is that part that he was not just a newsmaker for us who are in the business. It was the fact that, and it's interesting to hear what you're saying, that it's not easy when you're shuttling between studios, going to the Senate, and you have a dossier and you have something here like you're saying, at a transaction that is 56, it's not easy to just come out and say it.
Yeah, it's not easy. So for this man to have carried this thing for 40 years, and yet you know how skeptical Kenyans are. I mean, I was told, my brother, that the time when I was engaging on this thing of Adani, and remember I came here and we did this, people thought I was joking. People, I mean, because that is the mindset about who we are as a people. Kenyans are given hope that there's no Kenyan who can stand up on merit and say, I think I stand for 1, 2, 3. I think I value good governance. I think we can have a country that runs without corruption. That fixing education can be done because it has been done before. That providing free education in a country doesn't need anybody to come and tell us so much. Kenyans are some of the brightest people in the world. So we know what the problems are. And we have the solutions. And yet we behave like we are just some banana republic, which has got individuals who are just kleptomaniacs, who are crazy about money and owning this worldly things, and they now have the things that talk about 16-bedroom houses are being built in Kisii, where a member of parliament has a house worth 40, 50 million. I mean, these are not the dreams that Kenyans had about their governance. Yes, you can own a home, you can have a good car, there's no problem. You can take your children to the St. Andrews story, there's no problem with that. But please, do it when you can afford it. Don't steal public money and carry it and then just go and start telling me how you're flying helicopters, your children are going to Turi. Oh, no, Peponi is the best thing right now in town. Guys have transferred kids from some place where they have been in. I mean, it's happened before. We've seen it before. And this, I now understand, are the things that were really annoying Raila.
Okay.
And the Kenyan public saw him as the last line of defense.
If we go back to that last meeting,
yes,
because it was the height when Gen Zs were out on the streets.
Yes.
And they say, Baba, you've done your time.
Yes.
Relax.
And we'll
pick it up from here.
True.
Don't come to the streets. We will pick it up from here.
True.
And Raila spoke and he was really, really proud because he was the one who was at the epicenter of these movements,
exactly,
of these protests.
Exactly.
And suddenly he's not the one who's at the lead.
Yes.
He's taking a backseat. But let's go back to this meeting where in the caucus where you're saying, okay, let Ruto go down with his administration.
Yes.
Let's not do anything to help him.
Exactly.
And you're saying Raila then asked this question of, do you really understand what it means? I mean, at that point,
yes,
it was to his advantage for Ruto
to say, let's get rid of this guy.
Why?
Yes, because the executive, the presidency was vulnerable. They were vulnerable. I mean, all Raila needed to say is, Beba Sufuria to Rudi town.
And join Gen Zs.
But then there is one group that seems to think that Raila's purpose and agenda was to self-aggrandize himself to William for his personal benefit. You hear money being mentioned.
Yeah.
And yet, in reality, nobody from the ODM caucus has ever sat and told Kenyans, we sat and went through this because they are cowards. They don't want to own up that we actually made that decision. It was not an accident.
And was it?
Yes.
Senator, was it a decision that was made with a consensus of all, or was it a rubber stamping exercise? Because that has come out as well.
Initially, thank you. The disagreements now came up after. What we agreed about at the meeting was that, yes, salvage this scenario, but make sure we look for the basic minimums. Are you with me? In other words, in Kenya, if you look at political history, Kenya has always had a crisis, and it is the crisis that has allowed the space for Kenyans, and especially the opposition, to negotiate for what they did. We didn't have the Kenyan Constitution 2010 because Kibaki loved it, and people loved it, and it was the best thing that would ever come. Or did William Ruto love it? No. There were political circumstances which led to this constitutional change taking place peacefully. Peacefully. So the question we are asking is, do we really let this thing collapse? And after it has collapsed, now tell me, you then give Raila the presidency, if that is what your agenda was. What would you have done if, for example, Kenyans had gotten into a civil war? Those are real issues when you're a leader.
So was it Raila who cemented this thing? Because let's look at what happened in June 2024, and with those with the conflicts that was occurring at the time. It would appear as though it was President William Ruto calling on Raila Odinga that was then the glue that put the country back together. And if that was the case, because many would say that it's too soon after the announcement of his death for us to be having this conversation, but if that's the case, does that glue then disseminate with the death of Raila Odinga?
Yes and no. The glue that Raila provided for the holding together of the William Ruto administration for us was purely based on the fact that the ship was sinking, and the captain of the ship decided that, no, what I'm going to do is look for that guy from the other side or the other ship, because he has the emergency kit that I might need for me to salvage my boat. Once the boat was salvaged, many people expect that then Raila should have turned around and told William, now let's go for the duel. And yet the reality that we are facing at that time is that all the two options were on the table. If you don't manage this thing well, the thing is going to tank. And if it tanks, what do you do after that? You remember the other day when Raila said this thing was going to the military. Do you remember?
He said that.
In Kenya, we forget. That is where it was. So the decision to pull back the troops on his part was deliberately designed from the meetings we had held as the ODM caucus to persuade him and tell him that, yes, we agree with you. Many of our members completely refused that we were going to salvage Ruto. But as the discussions were, remember that first meeting we were supposed to make a decision, we went to the second day. It took us 4 days, in fact 5, before the conclusions reached. There were a lot of consultation because we were asking people, yes, collapse this thing. All right, and indeed, I have so much respect for the young people of this country. I think we are some of the best. My own father was a minister when he was 27. But then the question which was being asked at that time when we were the ODM caucus was, do you have the capacity with the young people who are the Gen Z to hand over government to them and for them to make sure they run a stable government? And as adults in the room, somebody had to stand up and say, I think there are decisions that you people have to make. And Raila sat there with Orengo. I remember initially Orengo was also very intransigent because he believed that Ruto had pushed the country in the wrong direction so quickly, so fast that it was scary. But we were constantly engaging and discussing. And for me, once I learned that agreement has come and that we are going to try and save the country, I was actually relieved. My only disappointment came that when we were supposed to look at what are the issues that have brought us to where we are. And those are the issues that we thought that Raila was going to push William to accept and bring in some of the changes like Kibaki did, where he actually agreed for the new constitution come, then he was against devolution, he agrees for devolution to be agreed upon, and all these other things. So I expected that the issues of good governance, historical injustice, the basics, the low-lying fruits.
They agreed to stop the abductions.
Exactly.
But they
continues. And this is what I've said. Giving Raila an incredibly beautiful and wonderful funeral is wonderful, and it's the best thing that you can give a man of his stature. But giving him a funeral without implementing some of the basic 10-point plan that he has raised, what is dysfunctional about country? How can you have a country where the head of state can borrow money without asking parliament? How can you have a country where the president can decide that you are actually speaking on the phone and he doesn't need a court order and he can actually just move into your house and they pick you up because you have said something which the president doesn't like? All right? How can we run a country where we've been talking for the last 2 years? I mean, we are having a budget of 4 trillion shillings. All right, Ministry of Education, the money that they're supposed to get is 670 billion shillings. That is what Kibaki had as president on his first and second year to run the whole country. And yet the Ministry of Education today, with the number of students only having increased by an extra 1 million, whether you are running it vertically or horizontally from primary schools to university. The reality is that you need only 270 billion to give Kenyans free education. And yet, the budget is 670 billion. We are not able to give capitation money. We are not paying the lecturers, and you just hear how money is being siphoned off. You have fake schools which are being paid. You go to the SHA, the ministers and the PSs are the ones who have got fake clinics where they're paying themselves 70 million, 60 million, and then you say SHA is not working. No, they're just taking the money. So my argument is, William can give Raila an incredible funeral. If he's not going to look at the things which Raila stood for, we are going to continue fighting.
So it's two things here that have already started to make their way through the chatter.
Yes.
Is that, so obviously the things that Raila Odinga held dear, and to an extent will live vicariously through other people, whichever way you choose to look at it, that they were noted on a global scale. And just as you say today, there was justice that was being fought for. There was freedom. There was, again, justice on a social level being fought for. The livelihoods of Kenyans to be protected, that there be constitutionalism and respect for the rule of law. All of these things over and over and over again for 40 years. Did that disappear in the 1 year when he then shook hands with William Ruto and decided to work with him? Did that legacy get sullied because of this?
Very good question. It didn't disappear because people like me have been given the, which word can I use? I don't want to call it a green light. I have been given the lessons about what this country's problems are and the solutions directly from the notebooks that Raila gave. And our position is that Raila may have reached a stage, just like you, any human being. You reach a stage where at some point you're like, you know, I've been dealing with this problem. Or, you know, I'm always having a fight with my brother, and I'm not even understanding what this thing is. And we are fighting over a piece of land which has a tree. See, I just leave it for him, I walk away. So I believe that Raila had reached that stage where even what is so commonsensical, you saw what the president has gazetted. He brings bills when Raila has died, which are completely, all the things, they want to privatize national assets without consulting the National Assembly. What is that now? We've been told that we are going to privatize the sugar factories in all the regions where sugar is being grown, and then you hear that people are just sharing the land, which is part of the extension program. The sugar, like in Mumias, there's 250,000 hectares of land. That is what gentlemen are sharing, and that is why you can't fix the sugar problem. If you go to all the sectors, you can run through that. Government has been operating from June when new budget cycle started in July. From July, we are on to October. I can tell all of you, there's not a single project that is being done. And that our budget is 4 trillion. So you have got which months? We are in October, right? So you have October, November, December, January, February, and March, then April. And you come to May. So those are 7 months. All right. So can you explain to me how you are going to spend 4 trillion in 7 months? So invoices are being drafted and people are being paid for work which they have not done. And we have the evidence, I can table it. So what are we celebrating Raila about, saying how he was a great leader, he fought for the justice of this country, and he wanted a better Kenya? When the same very, very things that this man Raila was talking about are the ones we are doing just after he has died, a day after.
In the morning of...
Yeah, so I don't believe in William anymore. I don't believe in the president anymore. And I don't understand why he's doing those things which Kenyans are telling him, don't do that. We are beyond that. We left abductions. We left detention. The president said Raila was a hero because he was detained unfairly. So what are you saying, Mr. President, when you are having more than 250 kids who are actually being slaughtered? That, for me, logic of yours doesn't add up.
And yet there's the question, why would Raila still choose
Yes.
to work with him? Because they've worked with him before.
Thank you.
Ruto is not a stranger.
Exactly. The point that many of the Gen Zs and many people who disagreed with that decision, the point they were making was that. And what most people seem to forget, and I don't think it was the time I mentioned here, for crying out loud, you expect politicians to make decisions which are saintly, which have got the moral high ground, which are... No, sometimes you hang around with the devil and the bitches and the quacks for you to achieve an intended purpose, because there isn't the capacity to get people of high quality and decency to negotiate with you decently. So if Raila decided to join William Ruto, in order for him, exactly, I can give you an example. Look at what was achieved during Kibaki's time. It was purely management. It was management. Look at the failures of President William Ruto. You were there, my brother.
Yes.
Okari, you were there. It was management. Then Uhuru came, he nearly salvaged something out of his presidency, did a few things here and there. Even his case, it was management. Then William comes in, and if you look at every single mistake that his administration has made, is all about management. So how can we then, as a country, not think that sitting down as a people to discuss our inability, our ineptitude, our incapacity to deal with the national issues because of the various self-interests that exist in our republic?
Did Raila give up?
Honestly,
Did he give up on his fight?
I think he did. I think he did, and this is my honest opinion. You know, I love saying the truth. I think Raila was very, very proud to see young people stand up to power, and he understood why that was necessary, because we had been through it 25 years ago. And you see, I've been telling people that Kenya has got this cycle of 25 years. Kisii, we have 20. 2025. If you look at when big political events take place, Kisii, it's always in 20 years. So where we are, the Gen Zs have come at the time when they need to re-engineer, redesign, and actually demand that this country, because countries are never created by good people who sit and sign documents and say, we'll give you good education, you'll get healthcare. Why? Because particularly the system we have, which is capitalistic based. In capitalism, the winner takes it all. So if you don't have people of good intent, and most probably what I call social democrats like us, who will be saying, no, yes, we really want to be rich. We want government tenders and contracts. You are having them. Yes, that is the case, yes. But what is happening to your most vulnerable? What are you doing to your poor people? I mean, why is it that we are a state, my brother, and we are able to, every single time the rains begin, you see people walking from industrial area to Korogosho to Dagoretti on foot. Who are the people who live around Lavington and Karen? Who are the people who live in Kilimani? And it is us, the wealthy. And yet when those people are walking in the evening, they're being rained on. Because why? We can do a stupid tram that carries from where? From Dagoretti, taking them to the industrial area to go and provide their manual labor, where they need to pay 10 or 20 bob. Somebody has to walk 26 kilometers to go and earn 500 or 600 shillings and walk back again 26 kilometers to go and have what you call children, a wife, and learn and run a life where he's normal and he maintains sanity and is a good citizen. Which countries that can do that for you? So we have to change these things, and people have to face the reality. Our political class can get in here and fly all their helicopters, which they do, and drive these big cars and live in the good neighborhoods. The reality is that we are only, the wealthiest Kenyans are not more than 1 million. So you have got 49 people out here. If you remove the middle class, which is about 3 or 4 million, it means you are back to 42, 45 million people who are destitute. So what happens when these people decide, you are not giving me healthcare, you are not giving me education for my child, so that my child can go to school and come and actually have a better future when I couldn't provide it for him or her. You are unable to give me the rights for my girl child and my political participants who are women. You are not able to take care of my people with disability. Then what are you doing? And the only thing that you're proud of is that you built houses. I find this contradiction a bit crazy for me.
And yet, Raila fought.
Yes.
For Kenyans,
yes,
the majority are referring to enjoy, have a better life, have a good constitution. He fought for all these things.
Yes.
And
a free press. You see how you guys are? Free press.
Yes. He fought for us as well.
Exactly.
And yet, the picture that you've just painted, now that he's gone.
Yes.
My question is, what kind of gap has he left?
Big. The only wonderful thing is that the spaces and the gaps that Raila has left, we know them. I'll give you an example. When the constitution was being drafted, I was so happy today because I saw the teacher, I saw the NAT, Kenya National Union of Teachers, sending a condolence message to Raila. The truth is, Raila again singularly made sure that the Teacher Service Commission was maintained as a commission, a constitutional office, to take care of the interests of the teachers. Now, if you understand that's what Raila did, because the teachers realized, and it made sense, completely made sense.
Yes.
Why are we not creating an independent body to deal with the doctors and nurses? Why does government operatives think that that's something we don't need? There is something crazy with us. If you are not able to provide a nurse or a doctor to treat your child when the child is sick, and the doctor doesn't know where the salary is coming, the county governments have basically become a cesspool of corruption and, the friends, the kickbacking and family members sharing all these tenders and whatnot. Medicines are bought not because of the quality and the need, but medicines are bought because of the percentage of commission that people are actually doing the sharing. That shouldn't worry us.
And yet Baba inspired very many politicians who are agitating like yourself.
They never listen.
For this kind of
the
things.
Politicians, especially the current and recent ones, understand that the company where anybody is going to make so much money in such a short time is called the Republic of Kenya. You become an MP, you get CDF, it is 250 million shillings a year. You stay in that office for 5 years, you handle 1 billion a year. So, all that leadership has been doing ever since the last 5 years is that you make money quickly, you want to invest fast, most probably out of the country, and it does not matter. When you fall sick, you go out and get treated and come back.
And you're okay.
Yes. If the road is bad and why are you complaining that the roads are impassable? We're using helicopters now. You're saying schools are not receiving capitation. Whose children go to schools? Why do other countries demand that politicians and Kenya and other like Rwanda? You must put your children in school, public schools. Why am I going to be treated in... And I mean this. I sincerely, in the name of God, I mean this. Why am I going to be treated in Dubai or in one of these countries of an ailment that can be treated in Kenya?
Because the healthcare system has collapsed.
It's collapsed. Completely collapsed.
And you don't have trust in it.
Yes.
So then one must ask the question, then what are you doing on a daily basis as a legislator or as a lawmaker when, in fact, these things don't work? And again, we go back to the fact that Raila Odinga worked for a lot of these things.
Yes.
But the reality of a lot of people right now who are getting into the political space, whether it is to agitate in that space or to be part of that space, the picture that they remember is this camaraderie or broad-based government between Raila Odinga, and now that we saw that there were agents or principals of the Orange Democratic Movement who now became part of government, whether they were cabinet secretaries or whether they got appointments across board. But that is the picture that they see.
Yes.
And that essentially all the work that may have been done over years then went into this broad-based government, and that happens to be the last, rodeo that he rode.
Yes.
Should there be what would sanitize that picture in the minds of people? Because that's what they know. That is what they remember. That is their reality. And then what does it actually mean going forward? Because we might want to say it's insensitive, but these are the conversations that people are having today. Is ODM, as second largest political party in the country, falling apart? Who will be at the helm of leadership? What we're hearing coming in right now is that Oburu Oginga now will be interim head of party to hold things together. There's so many conversations that are happening at the same time. Are things falling apart? Is the center not holding?
My sincere opinion is that we've been having challenges, especially after now the negotiated settlement. And of course, Raila then engaged the government. There were cabinet appointments made, and the government kind of continued running. And then to make matters, there was this thinking that many Kenyans have been having, and that is that Raila's position of standing against injustices and running against governments which had been violating people's rights and all that kind of thing. Some Kenyans did not understand why the decision that Raila made of joining Ruto's government was made. What some of us in ODM disagreed on, as I've said, is that we told him, yes, go and negotiate because we may have to save the bucket or save the baby or save the water. But let us agree with you like this. Once you begin to discuss whether you're going to save the water and the baby or the bucket, pick out the very basic issues that are supposed to be a constant for our future as a standard. In other words, there are certain basics that we wanted the government to own and accept. The way the Kibaki government owned devolution, they owned a new constitution. They said, we agree that 2007 elections were actually a problem for our country. They talked about changing the IBC and everything. I mean, it's exactly the same thing. The same issues that we were dealing with in 2007 might most probably end up being the same issues we're going to deal in 2027. Why? Because already the people in power and government are already saying that they cannot be defeated in an election. They're already saying, as far as they are concerned, even though the whole of Africa is becoming one term, the truth and the reality that is there is that they're saying it's not possible that we'll give up power. And we are saying, let the president and his team understand that this job they have is transitory. It has been given to them by the Kenyan public on a 5-year contract. And that 5-year contract has got parameters that normal, reasonable Kenyans will look at and evaluate performances. And what we are saying, if health isn't working, education is not working, where you're talking about cohesion and working together as a team, tribalism is at the highest point. Look at the corruption issues. The people, the EACC, last week, came and made a presentation to the senators. They said, we have the evidence. We go to court and we are tabling who has been stealing public money. And then when we are saying prosecute, a phone call comes from somewhere and said, wachana na huyu jamaa kidogo. Now, you understand why I'm frustrated. What do you do now? How do you handle such negligence? So to me, I look at President William's presidency as a presidency that is failing because of ineptitude. And the ineptitude is not because people are not schooled enough and they're not educated. The ineptitude is simply because the team is so greedy and people are stealing so much money that there's no way the state can hemorrhage the money that we are hemorrhaging, and it continues to run. And
yet the onlookers just kind of allow this to continue. It doesn't look like it's being stopped, or that there is something to stop the bleed. It doesn't look like that's happening.
It's scary.
It doesn't look like
that
that's
is
happening.
What worries me. That we have a country, you find, you raise the issues, everybody knows what the problem is, and yet we look at each other like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And you understand, it's a desperation, it's a disappointment. For me, I'm suffering disappointment because the issues that are coming are manageable. I'm not asking William Ruto to take me a shuttle to the moon. It doesn't have that capacity. But surely, sitting down and just doing a list of all the schools in the Republic, putting on GPS technology and that, having the data, explaining to how many students we have, how many teachers are there. I mean, you can even have a program which does that for you. And yet we can't.
And yet the person who was known as the deal maker redefined power, redefined management of this country, redefined politics, redefined coalitions, alliances, and so many of these things is no more. And I wonder, and I know this may be too early to even think through, but because of the shock that Raila is no more, he was the go-to person when you wanted then to broker a deal and have conversations.
Yes.
And that's what William Ruto did.
Yes.
And the two then have been on this journey. And it was very clear the journey was to 2027.
Yes.
And it was not clear what was going to happen after 2027. Yet the party then that galvanized all these ideals seems to be broken right at the center, where you have people like Nairobi Senator Edin Sifuna, Babu Wino, and so many other people saying, you know what, we don't agree. And yourself also, you're not agreeing with what the president is doing.
Absolutely.
And now the leader of the party is not there.
True.
Will ODM crash? What will happen?
ODM will survive if the people left behind to manage it behave with magnanimity and understand that Kenyans are watching what they're doing. Kenyans understand. We understand each other. All these games being played, we understand them. And the reason why, and I'll tell you this. When you see Sifuna raising issues, or me, or Babu, or the team that is in ODM, and we are saying, no, this is not the direction. We understood that Mzee was tired. And yes, we understood Mzee was tired. And the people around him, some of them deliberately were basically positioning Mzee to kind of act like he wants to rubber stamp that William Ruto is the best president that there ever was. And yet, we forget that Raila was in Homa Bay when he was saying, nimeambia huyu awache kuua watoto. He said it.
Yeah.
And he meant it.
And he meant it. But you see, our minds are selective when we are picking what Raila used to say. Because at that time, since he had joined Ruto, people were like, why are you telling us? You can even tell him that in private. But I think Raila was saying that even when I have an opportunity to deal with this gentleman,
I do.
Some things are very difficult to do. Like, for example, let me publicly state that I've told him, stop abductions. All right. When it comes to matters of corruption, I mean, you saw the last conversation Raila was having with us in the Senate is when he was talking about devolution. Issues we are saying, remove the money from the hands of all these. I mean, Kenya government collects revenue, and some of the money we borrow, we are supposed to put it all in the consolidated fund.
Yes.
The budget is supposed to come from the National Assembly, then Treasury and the Central Bank and the presidency seat, and the money is supposed to be. Where are we sending money to places where MPs have access to it? Where are we having more than 223 billion shillings being given out as bursary money in cash?
So things come full circle, Senator, because again, going back to what people are asking for, it is this very same accountability that made people come out into the streets and protest and say, you know what, beyond the finance bill, this is what we're looking for. The picture of the young lady is very clear in my mind when she said, you know what, Baba, utuachie hii sasa, you've done your part. True. Let us now carry this mantle further, because the things you are fighting for then are still the things that we are fighting for today. But we see it, and so we're going to stand up and we are going to fight. For me, that picture is very clear, because the problems of 40 years ago were still the problems of today, and the younger generation is still saying, let's fight for it. In my mind, that is not dead. But if there is no connector, it's now that lady is the face of who is saying that we are going to keep fighting. The question that people are saying now is that memory, that ideal must carry on. Because it doesn't look as though the government of the day, even though there was a broad-based government, is going to carry those ideals through. Can we be open and honest and ask, what does it really look like? Will the ideals that Raila Odinga fought for, whether he joined this government to make sure that they happen, that 10-point agenda, which I don't know how many of them have been sorted out till today, which was the precipice on which they agreed, those things are not being done. But we're going to honor him. The nation is going to honor him, but it's not going to honor what he asked for.
Absolutely. And that is why the statement of that young lady, when she said, Baba, wachia this thing, I want to just basically rephrase. Nobody should worry that there are no people who are going to fight for this country. We will. And it doesn't take anything There's no money you're going to give me to stop talking what I'm talking about. There is nothing anybody is going to do to pacify me, persuade me, whitewash me, offer me. Those things don't mean much to some of us. So there are few left, very wonderful, good soldiers, both young men and women in this republic, who will fight William Ruto to the very end. Why? Because we think we deserve a better nation. Not because we don't want him to be president. Just give me education, healthcare, make sure that I'm able to manage myself. What else do I want a president for? Make sure that capitation money goes to schools. Allow money that is going to the county government. Stop these governors, some of them who we are being told are stealing money from the county governments, and then for them to try and make the president love them. I'm told they go and give money to functions where the head of state is a... What is that? That's what we did with Moi's regime. And we saw the consequences. We are repeating... People are carrying money in bags, in briefcases, to go and do something called empowerment. What stupidity is that? We are basically making our people destitute by making them... You remember the Maslow's law? When you ring the bell to the dog... At some point, the dog then continues to shake the head. He's expecting the food to come. That's what these guys are preparing in 2 years, so that by the time we go to elections, people will be standing on the road saying, and
they're addicted to it.
Nobody's going to talk about how the roads are not being done. What? The money for roads is being stolen, whether it's tarmac roads or Maram roads.
And so these things happen when you've created an enabling environment.
Thank you.
For these things to
That is what it is.
And I'm just looking at the life of Raila, and one of the powerful things you've said is, so he's now gone.
Yes.
But are we living up to what he fought for? And yet, President Ruto, I don't know, for some reason, and maybe you can answer this, is it that he then got so emboldened, hiding then behind this new marriage with Raila Odinga, to continue doing all these things, and now that he's not there, is there any place to hide?
It's, for me, I think when the coalition when Raila signed an agreement with President, whatever they agreed upon, by now we should have seen the good faith
in at least one of them.
At least one or two things.
Okay.
I mean, my brother, no, what are we asking for? Why are we still taking police and military and teachers training college positions and employment of teachers and dishing them out as if it's cakes you're giving to individuals, those who are more loyal, those who love you, and those who go and tell people, mimi nilipewa 50 kwa sababu niko ndani ya serikali. That is what we did with Moi. Why is it difficult for us to believe in meritocracy? It's because we are crazy about our tribalism. We think you are more secure being tribal. I am more secure being Kisii. Then I'm more secure employing Kisii who's a police officer. I'll be more secure with the military guys over police. And in fact, I'm very, very happy. It can't be the standard. Our standard was higher. That's what we are saying. The standard was much more higher. I expected so much from William Ruto. Let me ask you, Ndu. How many presidents has William worked under? Moi, Kibaki, Uhuru, himself, and now broad-based. Is there a person who was supposed to set up and fix this mess we are in
figure it out by now,
Ruto?
Essentially?
He should know by now where to troubleshoot. He should have known by now how we steal the money. He's participated in some of those things. We have everybody in Kenya has stolen public money. We know how the money is being stolen. So all these years he wanted to become president. What was it for? For him to allow his friends to continue taking the money from the national kitty. That couldn't have been the reason why he wanted to be president. Which legacy is he going to leave behind? I mean, as a senator of where I've been elected from, what legacy do I want to hold? If I was a governor, for example, is it to be seen as a guy who just...
But Senator,
yes.
Just the other day, we had an impeachment that was already underway of Nairobi Governor Sakaja.
Yes.
And all the MCAs unanimously within 2-3 days,
Yes.
had put signatures, and they were willing to kick him out because of these very same issues we are discussing.
True.
Then the confusion now comes in. Raila comes in, saves Sakaja. Then there's a meeting between Upper Hill, State House, and all of a sudden, Sakaja now again is back, is comfortable. And all the MCAs have basically told the line.
Yes.
And we keep hearing these things from politicians, If Raila tells us we go left, we go left. If Raila tells us we go right, we go right. And it makes it feel, and it makes it sound like they can't think for themselves. It's almost like they're being controlled by this one individual.
I will give you a very simple example. That was one of the issues that we have raised with Raila. That is one of the issues that you notice even Babu Wino has raised. You've noticed I've done the same. Sifuna, we have raised these issues and we have said, if indeed, and I've sat in the SIPA committee, and my brother, Nairobi City County is supposed to be collecting 124 billion shillings a year. How much money do they collect now? 14B? All right, I think they have increased maybe to 18, I don't know, 18 or 16B. So the reality is that people are sharing 100 billion shillings.
So it's being collected and they're sharing.
It's not being declared.
Okay.
How is the money going? Now we have a scientific way on how we look at asset valuations. We know what this asset is, and the system that we have tells you that this guy, the tax you can impose on him is this. The owner doesn't even have to come to the office to talk. But now guys are sent and they tell the owners, so all the money is being collected. I mean, in Nairobi City County, for me, Sakaja is my friend, and I wished him to be so successful. But I think the job was beyond him. The job was beyond him. Like the idea he has about school feeding program, fantastic. That is something he should have died with. Make sure that children from the disadvantaged backgrounds who live in these settlement areas, which are basically the slums, are being given an opportunity. Yeah. He should have improved on that. The feeding program is wonderful. He's getting donor funds from IAMREF, from UNICEF. Children are actually feeding. More kids are going to school. So why are you not able to expand that? For example, to the whole country. Why are we not able to do that in the whole of Nairobi? What is so difficult putting cabros around the city of Nairobi? It is because the deep state interests are so incredible. The other day I saw we are going to have this thing called Nairobi Metropolitan, the NMS.
Yes.
Is being brought back. And I was like, Jesus Christ. As I sit here, up to today, we have never accounted for 29 billion shillings, which NMS picked out of where? Out of the treasury. Nobody's accountable. Nobody says anything. Nobody knows where the money went, who was paid and who was not paid. The people who are now collecting garbage are some of the people I know their names and what they do. What do? They even use Nairobi County government vehicles to go and pick quote-unquote garbage, where one lorry can be returned to be invoiced 21 times. And there is somebody being paid 8 billion shillings every week.
There's a problem.
A single individual. Which garbage is that you are picking which costs 8 billion? And yet, if we are supposed to bring the garbage management system and put it in Dandora, it's not supposed to cost more than 21B.
It shouldn't cost more than that.
It shouldn't cost more than that.
Yet from what I hear, you said Raila started getting tired.
Yes.
But then when people are demanding for service delivery, then we still saw him supporting Sakaja, for example.
Yes.
And, these are realities and facts we can't ignore. Then you stop to think, okay, then what happened to Baba? Was he
people even said he was compromised. For me, the way I look at it, as a politician, you have the options on the table. He had the options to look and say, when I am a defender of devolution, and we have agreed that somebody is going to be impeached because he's not able to govern, then, given this is again where I act as the devil's advocate. I did not know what the details were in terms of if you remove Sakaja, who takes over? Are you with me? What were the political implications of removing Sakaja? Was it going to destabilize the county government more, or did the members of the county assembly have a strategy on what was supposed to be done? But in general terms, I can tell you without any fear of contradiction, that is one of the most controversial decisions that the Prime Minister has taken. And yet, even when I make that comment and state that that's how we looked at it, are you with me?
Yeah.
You've also seen where a governor is brought to the Senate and we are there and we're expected to impeach him and we say no. I don't know that you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
And that those two contradictions is like the Kericho governor case. Are you with me? The story about the Kericho governor has nothing to do with him stealing 87 million. Because some governors have stolen 7B. And we have the fact, 3B. What the story of that gentleman was all about is that the governor refused to allow private individuals to take over public land, which is owned by the public of the members of the Kericho County government. And that is the tea which the big boys want to share amongst themselves.
And we can't run away
from... The governor of Kericho is saying, yes, biggies, you want to share maybe 10,000 acres, whatever you want, please do. But allow us to also allow the public, because what the governor and the team have been saying, allow the people of James Finlay to run those factories the way they are run, because that's their trade, but agree on the sharing formula so that it becomes like a PPP.
And there are too many of these examples around the country. I mean, go from county to county. You're likely to find one. And Raila Odinga did wade into those waters where he said, you know what, first of all, take this money away from these folks in the first place. And, don't allow certain cadres of people to handle this.
To handle money.
So even in the very, what we can call now the last days, he said some of these things and he said them quite openly. But I want to go back into history a little bit and look about decades ago, even as we see pictures that President William Ruto has arrived at JKIA, that the plane carrying the remains of Raila Odinga, the signal of that aircraft has now been changed to RAO 001, and that's interesting to see that as it lands in the next few minutes, that the plane signal has been changed, and just a few things coming to us. So that has happened, and Oburu Odinga will now be the interim party leader of ODM until we know what happens next. President William Ruto arrives at JKIA to then also receive Raila Odinga, as then they make their way to a few preparations at Lee Funeral Home and then on to Parliament, where they'll be viewing until 5 p.m. this evening. And then goes on to Karen from there. But as we take 20 years back, 15 years ago, Senator, you were in detention.
Yes.
With Raila Odinga.
Yes.
You slept nights in a cell.
Yes.
Not too far away from him. And one morning, you knew that he was to be executed.
He's going to be hanged, yes.
At dawn.
Yes.
Before dawn.
Yes.
What went through your mind at that time? And that you see that he made it till today. And now the world is stopping to bury this man who survived executions, he survived detentions, he survived a brutal administration in many cases that wanted to silence when he was speaking for the voices of the unspoken Kenyan.
First of all, I want to say one of the reasons why I'm completely against the death penalty is because sometimes, because of extraneous circumstances, political, somebody can be hanged for no reason whatsoever. And that has been historical in the US and other countries. I was just an accident because I happened to have been in the university in 1982. I had just come from a place called Yala. St. Mary's Yala is where I went to school. And when I joined the university, it was an amazing place. We went through ideology. We were taught to discuss good governance. And the professors and lecturers, and for me, I now believe that that is actually how Kenya started breaking down. The moment we stopped allowing lecturers and the people who are supposed to have our children understand where we are. Are you with me? Where we are today, our children are being put in school, one, to make sure they pass exams very, very quickly, and even need to become as rich as possible and as fast as possible. There is no value even for content. There is no value for evaluation. So when I was in the university, even when at that time, my father was a cabinet minister, and that time, they were big. Ministers were really big people, because he came from the Kenyatta era, and then he joined Moi, and then after that, he died just before Kibaki took over. My engagement in this politics was accidental. I was never allowed pro-poor, pro-African, pro-ideology, social democrat who believes I have a capacity to help change even the lives of two people. I just found myself a young man who believed that President Moi was not good. And the reason for that is because we were looking at the things which he was doing and the changes he was introducing. And yet, when I look back, Moi was actually, other than the excesses which already were constitutional of detaining Raila and the other people, Moi actually, I believe, had a soft spot for Raila. Because I've attended meetings where Moi was and Raila was, and you see how they would talk. They kind of respected each other. Are you with me? As you respect your elder brother, whatever. Yeah. And yet they saw each other as adversaries from different positions. But what I saw, Raila was always willing to try and reach out to the other side, so that Moi could understand why it is not necessary to grab public land, why it's not necessary to go tribal, why all those things. The coup comes, we are arrested. We are 126 university students. I'm one of them, Musalia Mudavadi.
Happenstance? You were in the wrong place at the wrong time, or were you?
No.
Okay.
I was recruited by our group.
Yes.
And my job was to drive a Kenya bus, which was ferrying students from KU to Nairobi, and some from Nairobi to KU. And I was also carrying some military guys.
Okay.
Who basically were intending that the government must stop. So we went on, Moi must go, the usual. After about 3 weeks, and we have been sent home. The university was closed. I was picked up.
From home?
From home. So my father called somebody at home and told them, tell that boy to go to the chief's office. He's wanted. I don't know what he did. So I went there, and my name was there, and they told me, okay, let's go. So we traveled in a Land Rover from Kisii, arrived in Nairobi, and then was taken to General GSU training school. That was, yes, that's why initially we were all received. We were about 600 university students. So they picked out those who are not really engaged, even as we were saying, you watch end.
You were even helping them to say,
okay, this one is a coward, he can't. And then we reached a stage where everyday information would come. Initially, the charge was supposed to be treason. And then after that, they brought treason and sedition. Then the prosecutor, we had Chunga. I think it was tactical, because he saw these are kids, they were really silly kids. Chunga then, under Section 87A, dropped our charges of treason and then introduced sedition, which had a sentence of 2 years. So by the time now we were going to court, and the day when, as we are in the cells, the story is so long, I wouldn't even want to go there, because it will take 5 days. Once we were removed from GSU training school, we are brought, some of us were put in Kamete. Titus Adungosi was brought to Kamete. There was a young man called Thumbi, who was from Muranga. We were about 24 young guys were delivered to committee. And then the day after we landed in committee, they found out that committee we are going to create a problem, because every time we would be brought in, the prisoners were clapping. So they removed us from committee and took us to industrial area. So industrial area now is where we meet Raila. All right? He doesn't talk to us. Then from Kisii, we had a guy called Ruben Oyondi, a guy called Manson Oyongo. They were all arrested. They were part of the coup, and that was the government
So
misinformation.
that was your first time in meeting Raila?
Yes, that was the first time. So we go in, we are given all our cells, but Raila was given a cell which was at the far end, because outside his cell he had like 8 prison warders and 2 GSU guys
Guarding him?
Yes. So as we are sleeping in the place, as you walk in any prison or any building at night, you hear that.
Footsteps.
Footstep. Okay.
So everybody woke up. And boy, I can tell you, I have never prayed in my life, because we had been told they are coming to collect Raila at 3. Once they are done with him, you guys are next. The story that the charges are going to be dropped is a lie.
Oh, wow.
So we were in the cells, looking at each other. Nobody's talking. Kinashemo Chuodo. I mean, it's a whole lot of those guys.
Everybody was there.
Everybody was there. So people sat, and many people were saying, you guys, if I die, take care of my mother. She doesn't have anything. Everybody was writing their will. And then Raila left with those guys, all the 8 guys. And he just looked, he said hi to everybody, and he just walked out. I don't think even him knew where he was going. After 3 days, one prison warder came, and I asked him, you make those people your friends. Even today he's my friend. So he walked in, and I asked him, Charles, is it true that they have killed Raila? He said, no. I asked him what happened. He said, the father managed to go and look for Moy. They talked. So they have saved him. But he is going to detention because it's too hot for everybody. The information then was given to all of us. Of course, we were so happy, so relaxed. The following Monday...
But where exactly was he taken?
He was taken to, first of all, Committee, and then later to Manyani.
Okay.
Yeah. So for us, then, I think it was a week later, when we received information that we were called to court by the prosecutor, Banachunga. And then what told us we are going to be released was that everybody was told to carry their things. So you carry a plastic paper bag. We had a cup that we used to.
So you were there for...
We were there for about 3 years.
3 years.
Yes.
You were
going to court every 2 weeks. The first year was at the GSU training school, where you are paraded, you sit in the sun. When they realize we are beginning to be noisy, you are told to kneel on hardcore, and you kneel there from morning till evening.
Senator, essentially, you were in detention for 3 years.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
And those things change you. They change you. I'm not who I was even in the university. I'm not who I was after I left prison. I changed. I'm some people ask me, you don't think there's a risk in what you do? I say, well, what risk? Come on, tulikufa. I mean, if Moi, something didn't happen to him, and I think people like my father must have really persuaded him to say, don't kill my son. I mean, you see the issue, Justin Muturi kind of thing. If Moi didn't let us go, chances are all of us would have hanged as subversives. And that was it. And that is why these things, to me and to a few of us, they mean something. They mean something. It's not... I mean, I look at my country and I keep on asking myself, what is it that people must do to make it better than it is?
There's a lot in
Yes.
that, and it's extremely loaded, even as you say it.
Yes.
So then I have to bring you back from 25 years ago.
Yes.
When after 3 years of detention, you
Yes.
finally did come out. And the horror of thinking that Raila Odinga would have been executed while you were in that space
Yes.
at that time. And then him coming out and then fighting for another 30 years.
Exactly.
Against the things that put him in that cell in the first place.
Yes.
And then seeing him right now, literally at this moment, coming back
Yes.
home, no longer alive, right now literally landing at JKIA
Yes.
in a coffin, having escaped death,
Yes.
execution, persecution, detention, all of those things over
Yes.
the last 40 years or so, doesn't that do a doozy on you in terms of the imagery that it posts, that now he's giving up his ghost in a manner different from the things that would have assuredly killed him over 40 years and the things that you fought for, essentially?
That's a very good question. My conviction is that there's a book written by somebody called Frantz Fanon. When people are in the struggle on any issue, whether you're talking about gender parity, you're talking about racism, whether you're talking about colonialism, once you're in that struggle, the struggle is constantly going to have contradictions. Are you with me? There were cases, if you look at, for example, what was happening in South Africa during the ANC struggle, the Umkhonto weSizwe, constantly you had Nelson Mandela being visited by people trying to negotiate this thing. Do we capitulate and let these people continue ruling us on this thing of theirs, of apartheid, or do we negotiate with them? Those things were constantly in the minds of Raila, in the minds of all the Bekin Orengo. When you sit and talk to James, Orengo will tell you that it's never been easy. Even the things that were looking simplistic, even things were looking that can be done by even a high school kid, you find that you have to keep struggling with the big boys to try and change the country. So my honest observation, is that where our country is, even if you look at Raila with his contradictions, and some of them have been quite big, my personal observation and personal rating of Raila is that amongst, if you were to take number 1 up to 10, amongst the 10 great leaders of this republic, if you consider Dedan Kimathi to be up there, because it was in the struggle of the Mau Mau, and look at the other leaders who have stood up, I would actually put Raila to be somewhere between number 2, 3, 4, below 10. He's one of the leaders who, Raila was the first person who used to come to Kisii and talk about how women should be respected. And you tell that to Kisii. That time, Raila would walk in Kisii town and people tell him, "You stupid boy, get out of there." You don't. They used to insult him. As the months passed, the next time Raila came for his second rally to Kisii, there were at least 200 people. By the time he had visited Kisii 3 times, Raila was filling the stadium. Why? He had started discussing issues of justice, fairness, equity, good governance, respect for the rule of law. And that is what the Kisii people are crazy about. Fairness, because we are a minority. Equity, because I want an opportunity, but I don't want to disadvantage anybody. Are you with me? Don't use my where I have been born to justify why you think I don't deserve either office or responsibility. Judge me for the content of my character. So Raila is the first person who started making us see people like Charity Ngilu as heroines.
As a
Martha
possibility.
Karua, yes. I mean, when I saw Raila picking Martha Karua, many of my friends were seeing Martha Karua as the numbers of the Mount Kenya numbers of the Kikuyu community. But I didn't see it that way. I saw a lady who has been in the trenches, who we disagreed with, 207, who has actually lived her time, who has made her noise, who has fought for the rights of this country. And yet, for the first time, and nobody talks about it, she actually, today, if she had remained and Raila had been elected president, she would be the first woman president of Kenya. So there's so much that goes on in our boxes. And for me, I think, in general, other than the politics, because we have always given Raila the politics. Raila was an amazing guy, very friendly, very kind, incredibly gifted in data. Raila knew which president was where, which year was overthrown, why did he get overthrown, which country has minerals, gold, diamond, silver, if it's coltan, who has got rare minerals, if it's Japan, how did it become? I mean, look at how many times did Raila talk about Lee Kuan Yew? How many times? Every single model we discussed it. And I came to understand the reason why the Kibaki government worked. Apparently, the Kibaki government had an economic council that had genuinely experts in international development. We had Japanese guys, like we had a Japanese guy. You remember him when you were covering ODM those days? Yes. We had one guy from West Africa.
Yeah.
We had one Arab guy. There's a team of about 8 people who used to advise Kibaki once the committee has sat, and it was Raila who was either chairing or vice chairing. That is the committee that brought the issue of Konza City. That is the issue that brought the issue of doing an expressway from Mombasa to Western Kenya, because they had done the data and it showed that a truck which is supposed to go to Kampala in 1 day, if this was an expressway, is lasting on the highway for 27 days.
Yeah.
I mean, all our solutions to our problems do exist. The Kibaki administration tried to challenge them, and they gave solutions, and they succeeded, even if it was halfway through. My argument is, why is President William Ruto not giving me solutions, even if he just did 30%? Number 2, I don't remember Kibaki ever doing anything outside the law. 90% of the things the president is either having through executive authority, whether he's doing the gazettements or whether he's changing anything, all of them are illegal. Any amendments to the Constitution are supposed to increase the powers of the executive and make sure that nobody has access to that executive, which then makes us begin to wonder, is it that President William Ruto is preparing the ground so that then he can change Kenya from what it is, a multi-party democracy, and if need be, change it into the Ugandan case, whereby Chapter 2A, which we have gotten rid of, reintroduce it by getting members of parliament who have testified that, Your Excellency, we always pass bad laws for you in the House. You've been bribing us to give you bad laws.
And that's why we do it.
That's where I am.
What will you miss the most? Because we have
what
seen,
I will miss the most about...
because the flight has already touched down.
Yes. Let me give you my last one.
Yes.
And I really cry for myself on this one. How I walked out of Arsenal. And Raila has been with Arsenal all these years. You know, Arsenal loses. Why I tell him, Mzee Mia walked away. He said, Richard, you have to be loyal. Arsenal is not just a game. It's a feeling. So I was very happy. I saw the Arsenal fraternity, the Arsenal British headquarters sent a condolence message to him.
Yeah.
And I will miss that. And I'll also miss Raila had incredible amounts of jokes. All right. If I was a young man today who wanted to do a book, I would basically do a book on Raila's jokes, and it would be a bestseller.
And are you writing a book?
Yes, I'm writing a book. I'm writing a duo. I'm writing on behalf of my father. Then I now continue after he has passed. And I'm explaining a few things, including all these things that are going on. I have a chapter 2 where I'm discussing his relationship with Raila, what he thought of Raila, because he used to tell me what Raila told me he thought of my dad, and then the essence of our democracy, because many of my dad and company were not comfortable with Kenya adopting the American system, because the American system was so humongous. And my dad felt like having these 47 counties, which in the US are called states,
Yes.
there would be too many. And indeed, Raila said he feels like our county should be reduced to 24. All right. There are some of us, like me, I think if you take the old regions, the 8 provinces, and increase them by double. If you have 16 counties, we are okay. But Kenyans are so pre-programmed about our tribalism, and we have gone back into our tribal cocoons. So even when Raila is trying to tell people that, look, the viability of what you call your counties doesn't make sense. If you take West, for example, if you take Kisii and Nyamira and put them together, and you had systems and structures which are distributing the money that reaches the public and everything, it really doesn't change much. You only have one executive. The other issue that Raila's brought up is he's always talked to many people and us, and that was he wasn't really sure whether we should have accepted to have governors who are elected or have governors who are appointed. Yeah, because the fact that governors are now elected has led to most of them behaving like Tin Pot dictators. The initial issue that we are dealing with.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, just a little bit in terms of updates coming in from JKIA at the moment is that the plane carrying the delegation of folks who went to escort Raila Odinga's remains back to Kenya has actually touched down Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and we can see those pictures now. Of course, there are throngs of people at the airport wanting to then be able to catch a glimpse of all of this, and we know that President William Ruto is also at JKIA with a host of others who will then welcome him and bring him through. So that's happening at the moment, and we can see those pictures there. Of course, you can see many people then coming in to say welcome back, and of course to then go on to say goodbye. And just by way of more information, that there will be preparations that take place for him at the Lee Funeral Home really quickly, and then he will be then escorted through towards Parliament buildings, where also we can see large crowds of people have already started to congregate, because then they will be able to bid their farewell to him through till 5 p.m. today, after which he will then be taken to his Karen home, and then proceedings tomorrow morning through towards Kisumu, where he will be until again 3 p.m. and then proceed to Bondo through to Saturday. With the funeral then taking place with full state honors on Sunday. So that's what's happening, and we're likely to see that procession start to move through in the next couple of minutes. So yeah.
The only comment I would like to say, my brother, is this. You see, when you see these pictorials and you look at the pictures, you look at the crowd behavior, you look at how people are behaving in the whole country about Raila, I don't think any of us as we sit in this studio, we would feel bad if we were given a funeral like this. So to me, at the age of 80, Raila did his thing.
He did his time.
And he did it well, with a few errors and mistakes here and there, because he was a human being like all of us. But the guy was an epitome of excellent in PR. The guy had a team, and this is again the credit that is never given. I am convinced, and I've said that in one of the chapters of my book, that Raila's failure to capture the presidency, especially after 2017 and the last elections, was because he had lost the kingpins who were running his think tanks. Go and check. He had lost the think tanks. You see. So the people who are around a leader, depending on the quality that leader has, and if the leader is willing to listen, he will achieve, I believe, what Raila has achieved. Raila would call, he would consult, he would trust, but he would verify. Raila had border boys. You know, William came with this border story and everything, which of course Raila couldn't, because we are considered the dynastic, which we are not, but it was not possible for him to run that narrative. But I saw Raila, before William started talking about the border riders and the mamambogas, Raila used to go and eat roasted maize. All right, I used to see him taking Kawatungu in Mombasa, sitting up at Kibarazani. Raila is the one who demystified our behavior. In my life, if it wasn't for Ogeta and the other wonderful gentlemen, the two bodyguards who have been Raila, I never saw Raila having more than 2 bodyguards
around him.
Look at what our governors do. Somebody has got 17 guys. 4 Land Cruisers. Do you know how many pickup trucks? You know, people are just their mentor. They actually have a mental sickness. Why? They fear the public. They think the public sees what they steal and what they take. And that's why our leaders are behaving the way they do. Why do you need 12 people to take you to a funeral? I mean, honestly, if somebody wants to kill you, they can kill you.
They would find it. Do you think there's an opportunity for a new leaf? Is there a new sprout? Is there a new shoot then? That usually, you know, I think about, you know, in the agriculture settings, that when you've harvested and you need to apply the scorched earth theory, whereby you then burn off you know, the stalks that gave you
then it sprouts
grain,
back.
and then it sprouts back. Is that an opportunity that Kenya is looking at today?
One of the things that we may not give ODM credit is the fact that we in ODM have actually been under very good pupillage, very good training. Right now, I do. Right now, I can run a presidential campaign and I can win. Yes. If you give me a good candidate, we'll win. Why? Because we are seized of the issue. We understand what Kenyans expect. Kenyans don't want hoopla. They don't want big stories. You know, the people don't want you come here, you tell us you what. No.
They want results.
They want results. Simple service delivery. So, in my thinking, ODM as a training ground for 25 years, because I joined ODM in the year 1992, 93. All right? The training has been wonderful. We have Babu, a young man who's really pushing himself, and he's toned down, because once I told him in politics, you don't have to make noise all the time. Tone down, carry yourself with dignity, and the public will own you. That has happened. Look at Sifuna. You know, when Sifuna was being attacked, we used to have meetings in the Senate there and the National Assembly, and we would tell him, boy, stick it out. Stick it out. If anybody wants to kick you out, stick it out. We will give it back to them. And Mzee knew, Raila knew, this is my tomorrow. Those young boys you see in ODM, those are Raila's tomorrow. Let me tell you, Ndu, I've told people we completely respect the presidency. We respect William Ruto because he has achieved what many people don't achieve in life. But we don't think he offers much. And it's for Kenya to decide. If they think we are the ones who are crazy, all right? Kenya, the reality is, it is Kenyans who are going to decide what country we have.
Let me ask, was it deliberate of Raila? Because you would assume somebody of his stature, his caliber, and the years of struggle to get to where he reached, the assumption would be, maybe at a party level,
yes,
or even at different levels, take the hand of somebody.
Yes.
And everybody will know that in the event is not there, that this is the person.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
If you were me, wouldn't you think that Raila was talking about that if Sifuna is there, I'm comfortable? Didn't he say it?
Well, he said it, but his party secretary general,
no.
Was he saying this is my future? Like,
if Sifuna wasn't worthy, and if Sifuna was not a good secretary general, the party leader would stand up and say, my party leader, my secretary general has gone crazy.
Isn't Raila Odinga the kind of man who would have said so if he was not comfortable with the words that Edwin Sifuna had been speaking over time? Would he not have spoken?
And said he has picked Sifuna's hand, half the people in ODM will run away.
So it was very deliberate.
It is deliberate. But I can tell you today, if you give me Sifuna as my presidential candidate and I have 6 months with him, I swear the fool will become president. He has got the looks, he can speak, he has the intellect, he has the jokes.
He has the interest for Kenya.
He stands up for what I value. Right. That is what I want Babu to farm up. That is what I want ODM to farm up. I don't want ODM to be a club where we are going to be participants in a cabal of arrangements where all we want is to get the best tenders, collect the money, be wealthy, and be meeting in current clubs and talking about how, they've just finished my place and it was 290 million. Which idiot needs a house for $2.93 million? The fool should be building a hospital to help his people in the village. You don't need a $2 million house. If it's a swimming, you need just water in it.
If it's a bed, it's only one bed.
It's only a bed which is made from mahogany. If it is meat, a kilo of meat I don't think there's a restaurant in Nairobi where a kilo of meat is 10K.
Well,
milk, a glass of milk cannot be more than 1,000. So, what the heck are you looking for 10 billion for? How many lifetimes do you have? Dude, don't you look at how my clothes look nice?
Very nice.
It's 10,000. Kenyan made. River Road. And we can't make these clothes, but we have to send our people to go to Turkey to go and bring suits for 70,000 because somebody has stolen money from the government and he can afford that suit. Why would you wear a 500,000 suit?
It's status.
Those which status? Which status? Look at Diacom. He's being buried in a 6x2. Look at this man being sent by millions of people, being brought by an aeroplane, coming out. Look at all these people. Look at what Kenya has become for the last 3 days. But finally, he'll go into that little box. And then soil will be put on top, and that's it.
And in fact, those are the pictures that we're seeing now. And we're seeing that there are members of the cadet service from the army who are actually then embarking at the exit for the coffin to be removed, of course, supported by ground staff of the KAA at this point, then using the ramp to then lower the coffin that carries the body of Raila Odinga. And we know that that plane did touch down at JKIA about 14 minutes ago, and they're now just going through the logistics of then releasing that coffin that was secured by the Indian government, and then being able to send that over in a military aircraft through towards Mumbai, and then that then came towards Nairobi then this morning. So we see that happening. They will flank that coffin in the Kenyan flag. It'll be draped in the Kenyan flag as it's then released. It'll be taken then ground and then put in the vehicle that will then transport Raila Odinga's body through towards the Lee Funeral Home, where other preparations will be done before then he makes its way towards Parliament. Remember that this is state procession that will be accorded Raila Odinga, and the President William Ruto, alongside members of cabinet and other members of this delegation, are also at JKIA and making sure that they do these preparations and do them in order. So the pictures that we are seeing now, that you also then have an opportunity to see, is the preparations in the lower part of that aircraft, trying to get the coffin out. Again, members of the army, that cadet service is making sure that the body then makes its way out in the coffin, and then the proceedings will take place from there. Those are the pictures that we see. This is what will happen. It'll take some time, but it'll be done. And we know that the outskirts, as well as many parts of the airport today, thronged with a lot of people who want to then be able to come and see. And it was interesting to see that we did see members of the security forces, army, KDF, as well as administration police, just being in the area, not pushing anybody back. But there seems to be an acceptance of the fact that the nation is grieving at this point, and not necessarily being harsh with anybody or pushing them back, allowing the crowds to come through. And of course, there we see Interior CS Murkomen, joined by Ruth Odinga, as well as Principal CS Musalia Mudavadi, and they've just passed in that area just now, and just being able to see the happenings that are taking place as this procession.
Well, and the pictures that are also coming from because of this 72-hour Raila's wish to be buried. So we're also getting pictures, and these pictures coming from, there's Kisumu, the stadium where he will be received on Saturday. Then there is also Bondo, his home in Bondo. There is also, we have preparations then at Lee Funeral and at Parliament, and at the same time Nyayo Stadium, which part of it has been going through some repairs and construction work going on. So all these things are happening simultaneously. It's going to be a tight Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The next 4 days will be having a lot of activities around this one man. Do you think, because there's always this saying that there is always a leader that emerges in a lifetime, and every country has one or two or three or four. The Nelson Mandelas of this world, the Mahatma Gandhis of India, where
Desmond Tutu, West African Nkrumah. You've had leaders will emerge. I've just seen somebody asking me a question, I think on your saying that why are you supporting Matiang'i, why not Babu and Sifuna? Babu and Sifuna have not announced they are running for president. I'm intelligent enough to make decisions. I mean, politics is about picking a candidate who can win. And the reason why I support Fred Matiang'i is my friend. I mean, Fred, I knew him before he was even a minister. Fred used to work at Parliament, drafting the bills which were being brought in by CUNY, City University of New York. He's the one running the program. So it's somebody I've known for a very long time. I also find him reasonable. I don't struggle with him. All right. What I would want him, and the hopes and dreams I have, is that he would clearly understand the dysfunctionality of our state so that he can fix it. The problem in Kenya today, to get the leaders that you're talking about, is that we have no politics of ideology. We have a politics which, like I said earlier when we started, it's all about this group. A group, we have become a cabal of individuals who basically look for opportunity. How can we stash in as much money as possible? Go and have a home in Dubai, if not in the US. Make sure our children don't go to school in Kenya. If it's in South Africa or Europe, still that is okay. And we shop for about, 10 million shillings every year for clothes. That is your life. That's what you want. But there are leaders who are going to emerge because of the social need. There are leaders who are going to come up and say, you know what, yes, this we cannot accept, this we will. And I want to pray that God allows me to be in that category. For me, I'm very, very comfortable trying to raise the issues. Number one, not for any particular reason. By now, you know, I would be a rich boy. Hey, like from Adani. Boss.
Had you agreed to keep quiet?
Coming to my home in Karen.
Had you agreed to keep quiet?
I'm running those little poodles, those two dogs.
You are fighting Adani.
Feeding those dogs with about 12 kilos a day. Their meat costs, I'm told, CG 200,000 a year.
And sticks.
My honest and sincere feeling is that there are enough Kenyans, even if Richard Onyonka is not there, or Babu Wino is not there, or even you guys are not here, who are willing to fight for the goodness of our country. They're there. People are there. And people, I've talked to Kenyans. I look at them face to face. I hear them. You travel, you see Kenyans. What do they tell you? It's not going to be business as usual.
It won't change.
It won't change. And even if bad laws are passed in the National Assembly and the Senate, we will talk about it. We'll be telling Kenyans, this is a bad one. This one. I mean, why would you want to remove the responsibility of having the National Assembly and the Senate approve how you are going to sell parastatals, which are worth billions? Some of the parastatals that these guys want to sell are actually located in areas where the amounts of minerals that are there, if you took just a quarter of the minerals there, we would pay our debt. We would pay our debt.
And this is reality. These are the things this is reality.
And what is interesting is when I was talking with my friend Fred Matiang'i, he told me the last thing Uhuru did was to do an audit of all the minerals that exist in the Republic of Kenya. And his view, Kenya has a capacity of raising close to $2 trillion on our minerals alone. That includes the oil in Turkana. It's there. People just refused to allow Tulo to do what it was meant to be. After they kicked out Tulo, they brought their friends. They went and bought all these pieces of land, which had already been audited by who? By Uhuru.
By Uhuru.
You go to the Masai Mara area, around that area, you go all the way to Oloitokitok. If you go there, look at the company which was called Tiomin. Tiomin mined something in Kenya for not less than 10 years, which was being carried live. Nobody knows what that shit was.
Speaking about what's being carried, if you allow me, Senator, to go back to JKIA now, the pictures that we're seeing is that the body of the coffin, rather, that carries the body of Raila Odinga now being lowered from that aircraft, and it is then being received by the throngs of people who are at JKIA at the moment. And it's interesting because many, many people, interestingly, and we see that symbolism carrying the green branches, who have then been allowed to come to very close proximity of the aircraft. And as the coffin has been released or lowered down from that ramp, ramp. The members of the public, those who've come to wish him goodbye, and those who've come to acknowledge him are actually there. We are seeing members of the army, some representatives, I believe, from the Navy, as well as Air Force, there to greet in what is obviously the beginnings of the state procession that will take place over the next 3 days. And we see them there have lined up, and they're in salute as the body then does make its way down that ramp. And folks who are holding those green branches as symbols of welcome and symbols of grief are actually welcoming him down as he then makes way. Of course, they're thronged security personnel, of course, doing well to keep the crowd at bay, but also well controlled. And it looks like a peaceful, welcome at the moment. We're going to keep our eyes on all of this as it continues to happen. This will then come to the place where President William Ruto is going to give his welcome to that, and many people then being able to welcome. So we're seeing the coffin is being moved. It is draped in the Kenyan flag. That happens as then he makes his way out, and we are seeing, of course, people waving and just basically welcoming him in. That cadet service, they are the ones who carry this coffin, and they'll carry it to the space where it will rest for a few moments before then it then makes its way on through towards Mombasa Road, and then out towards the Lee Funeral Home, and then on to Parliament. They carry that, and people are welcoming this. And I think it is gallant that people have been allowed to come into the premises of the airport,
yes,
and which normally they would not be allowed to do.
Yeah.
But this is a different situation, and I think that the grace that has been accorded here is one to watch, and that's great that has been matched. He'll be taken to the place where it will rest for a moment, and then being taken to the vehicle thereafter. So it's happened. This is official, and we see that those members will continue in that stead. All right, so just to remind ourselves that as the day continues, and as you see those pictures, as this moves along quickly, the day will continue whereby members of the public will then be able to go to Parliament buildings well until 5 p.m. To then be able to say their goodbyes, to view the body of Raila Odinga, which will line Parliament buildings until 5 p.m. today. And then later on, we'll go to Karen, to Raila Odinga's residence. And then thereafter, tomorrow, will then make its way. Remember, it's state procession, will make its way to Kisumu, where it will be until 3 p.m. and then make its way to Bondo, where it will lie in state until Sunday, where the state funeral will then take place. We're likely to hear some more as we then do go along. So we're just looking at those pictures. We are seeing what's happening here. The coffin has been disembarked from the aircraft, and we'll see those light ceremonies that will take place at JKIA in the meantime. Still lots of people there, and I just think that they've been allowed here.
It's a lot of people, but
absolutely.
This picture, if you juxtapose this to what was to happen, I think at some point last year and even this year, when the Gen Zs were saying we're going to JKIA,
yes,
and they couldn't get close, and you're imagining the fight for the liberation then of this country and the things that they're fighting for this country, and then you see these same people have access actually to is this the airside?
This is
the
right,
VIP wing, eh?
Right,
VIP wing?
VIP wing, and of course we know that the aircraft just comes right up close. What took time was that they were, of course, draping, and it was interesting to see because the coffin was wrapped in the cellophane packing,
yes,
and it had to be removed for the flag then to be draped before they brought it down the ramp. Yes. So those, of course, we see cadets from the army. They are the ones who are now taking this through.
Yeah, I mean, Senator, my last question is, do you think, because at the center of all this, Raila epitomized key turning points and key moments in Kenya. He was admired,
yes,
and equally feared, but who the people were perceived to be his enemies.
Yes.
He was greatly misunderstood, and at some point you said he made mistakes here and there. He was impossible to ignore. He made errors. But in these last couple of months, you fought so hard and brought this whole Adani conversation.
Yes.
Raila defended it.
Yes.
And towards the end, he kept talking about the Adani, and he appeared almost upset that it didn't go through. Do you think those were errors, and do you think they dent his legacy?
My conviction and belief is that I have actually asked that question. All right. And I didn't ask him, but I asked somebody who would enlighten me. And the conviction I have is that the person who was explaining to me made the point that Raila was convinced beyond any reasonable doubt that that was a good deal. And what I asked whoever that I discussed this with was, if you believe that this was not a good deal, all right, did you even do comparative analysis? And for example, look at what Rwanda got, because Rwanda were given 40 aeroplanes by the Etihad guys.
Yeah.
They were given, I believe, something like $1.2 billion to set up a newer airport, and then they were added $1 billion later. Rwanda is building one of the best and biggest airports on the African continent. So Raila was feeling like we were stopping the fact that the country needs an airport. What I told Mzee and the people who came to ask me about it was very simple. Do it within the law.
And nobody has a problem
So
with it.
they asked me which law. I said, you taught us that when people do things, they follow the law. Simze told me that he is a Democrat, and good Democrats make sure they follow the law. They believe in justice, equity, and fairness. So, Mr. Okare, follow the law.
Follow the law. He's a senator in the Republic of Kenya for the people of Kisii County. Richard Onyonka, I think there's a lot we've learned, even about you and your struggle today. And that you've been able to lend to this, not just lending to a conversation, but lending to history.
Thank you.
And may we always be on the right side of it.
One last thing, Ndu, I wanted to mention, and my brother, Okari here. If there's anything this guy should be given credit for, it's just the simple fact that he actually believed in free speech.
There you go.
Raila really fought for this thing. I mean, I remember all meetings we would go. You know, there was a time when guys would actually insult him. And Raila would stand up and say, no, it's okay.
Allow them to speak.
Allow them. That's democracy. What's wrong with you? Where do you want him to go and say those things? In the toilet?
You never took anyone to court for defamation.
No. What are you defaming me about? Talk about me if you want.
And let's speak.
Say I'm a night runner. You'll come and give you my record of writing and running at night. So what has it made you?
Indeed.
I mean, I see some people sometimes insulting me. I'm like, these guys, I wish they knew. I'm one of the happiest guys in the world.
Senator Onyonka, thank you. Over the next couple of days.
Thank you so much.
We'll
and
see.
I want to say I'm so sorry. I will not promise not to come next time. Whatever I promise, I'll come.
Fantastic. And of course, keep looking for you. Thank you so much. And for everybody who's been on the Situation Room this morning, we continue to follow these proceedings. It's 3 minutes past 10. Good morning.
Thank you so much.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.